settling forth for liberation, and we got nothing to lose but our chains, and we got nothing to lose but our chains, and we got nothing to lose but our chains. Come on, shake those chains off. All right, come on, mama.
Take a step. Come on, mama.
Good morning, y'all.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Take a step.
Good morning. Good morning. As we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors on this sacred route, I just want to tap into some of the songs that they were singing going up this road. I'm expecting you all to help me. If nothing else, back me up, right? All right. I am. Some of y'all standing on my shoulders right now. All right? So I'm going to need you to help me with this. Whew. I'm tired of this about that. Well, the one thing I did wrong, stayed in the wilderness a day too long.
Come on.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Why don't you hold on? Come on and hold on. Well, the one thing I did right was the day I started to fly.
Come on, mama.
Keep your eyes hold on. Why don't you hold on? Hold on.
Come on, y'all.
Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Well, I'm sorry. I got my head on the freedom flag. Nothing but a journey now. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. It's not a concert. Come on, let's sing.
Sing it, y'all.
Fight all day and I fight all night.
Lift your own voice. Come on.
Get my silver right.
Come on, mama.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Come on now. I see. That's it. Come on. Let it out. Come on.
Hold on.
Come on.
Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Come on. Come on. Come on, mama.
I got my hands on the freedom plow. I won't feel nothing for my journey now. Keep your eyes
That's it. Come on. Come on, mama. Come on.
I fight all day and I fight all night.
That's right.
Trying to win my silver
Come on.
prize.
Hold on.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Hold on. Come on, y'all. Come on. We got to get up. Come on, y'all.
Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
That's it.
March on.
Watch out.
March on.
Come on.
Pray on.
I said,
Pray on. Believe on.
come on.
Believe on. Push on.
Push.
On.
Come on, mama.
Forgive on. Forgive on. Love on.
That's right.
Love on. Hold on. Hold on.
Yes, mama. Yes.
Hold together.
Now wind that back.
Good morning, everybody. Really want to welcome everybody, thank everybody for being here. Hoping to bring Barbara Arnwine from Transformative Justice Coalition up, Bishop Grant from Rainbow Push. We are so honored to be here today on this full day march as we march from Selma to Montgomery. Both because folk marched before, but we have to keep on marching today. So I think we're going to have a couple of greetings, and then we're going to do a song, and then we're going to get ready to march. I think. Say again. Okay. All right. So wondering and hoping that everybody has been able to check in. If you haven't and registered, we just want to have a sense of who's marching with us. We want to be able to keep in touch. We want to stay COVID safe, and so keep on reminding others if they don't have this to please come and register. I'm going to pass it off to some of our amazing partners.
Give it up for Dr. Liz Theo Harris. Freedom fighters, make some noise this morning. Somebody scream. This is a great day for freedom. It's a great day for liberation. It's a great day to lift our voices and put our feet in the streets. On behalf of Reverend Jesse Jackson, our founding president of the Rainbow Bush Coalition, we're excited about being a part of this collaboration and this collective. This is the moment and the time that we as a people will be heard, and we as a people will be seen, and we as a people will make a change. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and being a part of this historic time. One of the most tenacious litigators in America is tenacious, tough, and relentless. And you don't want to go against her, you want her on your side. She's one of the co-founders of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Attorney Barbara Arnwine.
Thank you. Thank you, Bishop Grant. Good morning, everybody. Wow, are we ready? I mean, are we going to put on our best? Amelia Boynton today, right? Are we going to bring our best? John Lewis today, right? Are we going to bring our best? C.T. Vivian today, right? Hosea Williams, we're going to channel all those spirits right now, right today, as we walk in their footsteps. We're not playing. I watched some of the news coverage last night, and you would have thought this was just a regular annual get-together. People don't understand that this is about the urgency of our democracy. We're not here because it's just an event, and we just want to have some kind of reunion. We're here because it's time to save our democracy. The anti-democracy forces are out of control. They're running voter suppression programs everywhere, trying to destroy this American democracy. So let's be clear, this is urgent business. This is necessary business. This is what John Lewis would always call the good trouble. And we are determined to good trouble 2022. I am so glad to work every day with the amazing co-leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and that is Daryl Jones. But I'm more than happy, thank you, I'm more than happy to be joined today by the father of Ahmaud Arbery. His family. His family are here 16 strong because they know that ultimately everything comes down to voting. And they're here because they have used voting power for transformative change in Brunswick. They weren't satisfied with just convicting the murderers of their son. They were determined to take it to a new level. To make sure that justice would be strong in Brunswick. And they threw that corrupt DA out of office. Through the vote. So I want people to be clear that this morning we're not here for Molly Day. We're here because the urgency of the movement of the now is right upon us. And we will never stop until our democracy is always secure. They say, one, democracy is a constant. for coming out. We're going to get this march on. We're going to do it. And I'm so grateful to the mighty Marcus Arbery for being here. Thank you. All right, so we are getting ready to start marching. We want to do one more song, and then we also want to have the baton passed on. I want to have all of us give a huge appreciation for the powerful freedom fighting that Senator Hank Sanders, Fire Rose Touré, some of the folks that have been organizing and keeping the spirit alive, the memory in the flesh. And so, Senator Sanders.
Good morning, everybody. We appreciate greatly your participation in this, and we appreciate greatly the leadership of Repairers of the Breach, Poor People's March, Rainbow Push. They are great leaders, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Bishop William Bob, and others. But I'm just take a second. This is the baton, and it's the Selma-to-Montgomery 2022 March, and it says fight for the vote. So I'm passing this to y'all. As you well know, the events went so late yesterday until SCLC couldn't do its first leg of the march. So we motorcaded from the National Voting Rights Museum to here, and we want to pass this baton. The baton is the right to vote. And it's really heavy, but you have to carry it and keep carrying it. The flame is a light to be able to see the way. It's for all of the information we provide so our people can be able to see the way. So I need to present somebody officially for the carry the baton. Because in the morning, you need to pass this on to National Action Network and Reverend Al Sharpton, and they will pass it on. At the very end on Friday, we are going to pass the baton and the light on to young people and ask them to carry it
I can remember my great aunt, Ms. Boynton, Amelia Boynton, talking about marching from Selma to Montgomery. And she would talk about the young folks that were present in the movement, the young folks that kept on marching. And she would talk about how much potential and how much power that not only young folks, but connecting with our elders, connecting with our movement warriors, bringing in the intergenerational aspect, sharing that knowledge. That power is so strong, and I think we see that today. I think we see both young folks present, both of our folks that have been our seasoned organizers, our seasoned veterans within the movement, and not only that, but look around us. Everyone look around us, see this fusion that is in this space. Black, white, native.
We want to call the name, but she's over there by the table, of our beloved sister, Attorney Fire Rose Touré. And in this space, where she has advocated and marched and protested and organized and sung and written songs, we're going to sing one of her songs as we get ready. So I want to lift my people up.
So can we start lining up more crowd?
My people up, they're not heavy. I want to lift my people up, they're not heavy. I want to lift my people up, they're not heavy. If I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, they will fall down.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I got it. Got it.
If I don't lift too much left, if I don't lift her up, she will fall down.
Let's go up here. Folks, we are broadcasting, live streaming from the first leg of the march from Selma-to-Montgomery, this being the 57th anniversary. This actual day, March 7th, is the actual day of Bloody Sunday, 1965, 57 years ago. And every day this week, we'll be going a certain distance to the Montgomery State Capitol, culminating in the same place where Dr. King spoke 57 years ago. And each day a different organization is leading the march. Today, there are actually 3 organizations: Dr. Barbara Arnwine and the Transformative Justice Coalition, the Reverend Jesse Jackson and Rainbow Push, and of course Reverend Dr. William Barber and the Poor People's Campaign. This is a Monday, so it's appropriate that the Poor People's Campaign would be here as a Moral Monday. And so as we move and prepare to march, we're going to talk to several people who are involved in this and involved in some of the organizing. And you can see here, we're getting lined up. The Alabama State Troopers are here in a somewhat different role than they were in 57 years ago. Hello. It's interesting, when we met with them, I have to share this, and we were talking about logistics and planning and safety. And I said, how many of you all is it? They said not nearly as much as there were in 1965, maybe just over half a dozen. So that's a big change. But as we get ready to start, we're going to be introducing you to several people who are here. Eric's going to take us up to the front, and then we'll talk to...
If I don't lift it up, oh, if I don't lift it up, I will fall down.
The Reverend Dr. Liz Steele Harris here, getting ready to lead the march. How you feeling this morning?
Feeling good, ready to march. We got rights to be fought for. We got democracy to protect. We got economic justice to promote, and we gotta do this march. We have powerful leaders from all across the country and from here in Alabama that are a part of this, leading this march. Young people who are committed to a long struggle for justice and are standing on the shoulders and walking alongside those that have come before.
Yeah. You know, today is actually the day. Today is March 7th, the actual day of Bloody Sunday.
Bloody Sunday, yeah, the actual anniversary, and we can feel in the air, in the ground.
Yeah, very important, very important. Tell people how this also feeds right into what we're planning June 18th when it comes to the mass moral movement and the Poor People's Campaign.
That's right. So this march, other march the country are all moving us towards a mass poor people and low-wage workers assembly, a moral march on Washington and to the polls. When you live in a nation that before COVID had 140 million people who are poor or low income, when you have fewer voting rights than we did years and years ago, even though people have fought and died for those rights, when you have the kind of ecological devastation that's taking place, all of this means that we need a moral movement from below. We got to lift from the bottom so everyone can rise. And so we're going to make a declaration of it and be in Washington, D.C. and keep on organizing from there.
When Dr. King left Selma in 1965, he went to Chicago. He announced his opposition to the Vietnam War not long after that. And then he began to organize the Poor People's Campaign. So this is a logical extension and continuation of his work, isn't it?
That's right. And what you had in Amelia Boynton, in the Boynton family, others that were organizing here in Selma, folks that were organizing in Montgomery, folks that were organizing across the state and across the country back in the 60s, was seeing the connection between the fight for voting rights and economic justice and the need to unite and organize poor people across all kinds of difference, all kinds of boundaries, and that need is great today, but it's happening. People are doing it.
Reverend Dr. Liz Steele Harris, we're live, folks, as we get ready on the first leg of the march from Selma to Montgomery. Thank you, Reverend Liz. We appreciate you, and we're all just getting fired up with the spirit before we get ready to get moving.
We're waiting for
This is Sam Walker.
Department of Transportation that directs people to get over to the next lane.
They're on their way, but it's going to be at least another 30 minutes to 40 minutes before they get here. So go ahead and step out of line and relax till they get here. We can't do anything until they get here.
Mr. Arbery, come here for a minute, man. Marcus Arbery, folks, is the father of Ahmaud Arbery.
So people can take a little bit.
And he's here to march.
What I want to do is hear from the folks that are here.
It's really something. It says a lot after what you've been through that you're going to take part in this march, man. But tell us why.
Alabama and from across.
Number one, I give all glory to God, and I'm marching for my son, and I'm marching for all other people before him.
From people.
That been in the great tragedy of losing their life because of the color of their skin. So that's why I'm marching. I'm marching for all the ones that lost their lives in this tragic, bad situation. That's been going on so many years, so that's why it's really important for me to be here tomorrow.
If you just
and not to mention the fact, as we were discussing yesterday, in 1965, the march was also about the murder of Jimmy Lee Jackson by the police. And the same thing pretty much happened to your son. Here we are 57 years later, and we're still fighting the same fight. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, Lord, it just seems like to me the same cycle just keep trying to repeat. And they try to do it in a different way, but the same cycles keep trying to repeat. And so we the people, we got to do better than this. We got to stop failing. Our system got to do better. Our system got to hold everybody accountable. I don't care what color they are. When they break the law and be wrong, they got to be accountable to the fullest of the law.
Yeah. You are an inspiration to us all, Mr. Arbery. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing with all of us. God bless you, sir. All right. Folks, as you can see, we're at mile marker 88 along Highway 80, the famous Highway 80. And as we travel during the course of the week, we will see, and you will see, hopefully, some of the other markers, the campsites. Because in 65, they did it, we're a little bit more comfortable these days. Some will be following in vehicles. You saw a big truck right here that's going to be leading us. Some will be following in vehicles. But in 1965, there weren't any vehicles and they weren't hotels. So we literally, or they literally, camped out on the side of the road. But it was kind of cool because they had live entertainment. Tony Bennett, Sammy Davis Jr., Harry Belafonte, and others had entertainment along the side of the road, and it was quite meaningful to those who were there. And so we're here today to try to recreate those steps. We'll go about 10 miles a day. We'll be safe. Those who can walk will be driven, and they'll have cars following to be in the caravan. We're going to go talk to a few more people. And you all can see the state troopers are here. Again, very, very different atmosphere than was in 1965. And just from a historical perspective, by the time of the march in 65, the final march after Bloody Sunday, the National Guard was federalized along the road to provide protection. Why don't we spin around a little bit? There's some other folk we want to try to talk to as we await. For extreme safety, we are holding on to leave. We're in a holding pattern until one of the other safety vehicles arrives out here. Hey, tell everybody your name.
Yes, my name is Portia Miller, known as Queen, national civil rights activist and community leader out of the greater Atlanta, Georgia, and I am originally born and raised from Dothan, Alabama.
Dothan, Alabama. What brings you out here today? Why are you marching from Selma-to-Montgomery?
I'm marching to Selma-to-Montgomery because I feel like it is my civil duty, not only is my civil duty to the country, but my duty to the state of Alabama to represent John Lewis. John Lewis was the boy from Troy, and he is the one that came and allowed the world to see, not only with Martin Luther King, but with C.T. Vivian, with Dr. Bernard Lafayette, with Miss Fire Rose, and other great foot soldiers that came before us and exercised their right to vote and got our voters' rights in 1965.
So we're not finished marching on it. Some people think we don't need to march no more, we don't need to do that no more, but we have to continue this, don't we?
Oh, yes. First of all, let me tell you something. First of all, not only we got to continue to march, but we got to always speak truth to power. Never allow somebody to let you know or let you feel that marching, mobilizing, protesting, boycotting holding people accountable does not work. It does work, and we showed that when we got the verdict for Ahmaud Arbery.
That's right. And what does it mean, say to you, that the Arbery family is actually here to march?
Strength. It means absolutely strength, and I am so glad they are on our birth soil of Alabama to show everybody that they are in it for the right to vote. Do you know some of the family members did not vote until the death of their beloved Ahmaud Arbery. Right. And guess what? When they went out there and advocated and turned into activists when they didn't want to be, they got out there and they voted and they flipped it on the DA Jackie Johnson and got her out of the seat.
That's right. That's outstanding. So the weather, we're going to have some inclement weather this week. There's going to be some rain. As you know, Martin and Coretta and others marched in the pouring rain.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to do that too?
Oh, rain, hail, sleet, or snow, we amplify. Whether it's 5 or 55, we're going to always amplify. That's how I was raised. That's what I do. And I am a foot soldier of Alabama and Georgia. All right. Well, wonderful. Glad to see you, Sister Portia, Queen Portia. We appreciate you. Just another one of the marches here on the way. Thank you so much. Yes. Folks, we're out here. And you can see some of the marchers getting organized. We're a little bit delayed. We're going to step off shortly. But let's go see if we can visit with a few other people while we're here for the march. As people are as people are gathering, we're here with our sister Cece Huddleston, who is one of the organizers for this week's activities. I mentioned several organizations who are doing this, including the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, Thurgood Marshall's organization. Sister Cece has been doing a lot of organizing, and they're going to lead when we arrive at the Montgomery State Capitol in that historic spot on Friday. How you feel this morning?
I am feeling energized and so excited to be here. We have a whole group of students from Dillard University, the prestigious Dillard University in Louisiana, and being a young folk myself, and then also seeing the next generation, and also here with multiple generations. I am so energized this morning. For it to be early and for us to have a late last night, I am just incredibly happy to be here.
Why is it important that we do this again, this march from Selma to Montgomery?
I think the continuation of the march is important because we have a lot of the same issues that we're encountering, and also different types. We have digital attacks, we have folks who are passing legislation with the repealment of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and it's not fair that I don't know if my child has the right to vote. And my father was born in '59, and he didn't have the right to vote when he was born, and why are we here this many years later? So therefore it's important to keep the march going. What can I do for my kids, and what can I do for the generations after me?
Yeah, very important. Cece, thank you. We're going to be seeing you during the course of the week, and again, LDF is going to be leading the march on Friday. Thank you for all your hard work. It doesn't stop, even with this next generation that's coming forward, and Cece's definitely part of that generation, so we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, wonderful. We are, as I said, Reverend Jackson is going to be joining us. Bishop Barber is going to be joining us. And you just heard Cece say there are a number of students here from Dillard University. Come here. What you doing?
Standing here.
Are you gonna stand here talking to me? Tell everybody your name. Tell the whole world is watching as we're streaming. Tell everybody your name.
Reverend Jeanette Wilson from the Rainbow Push Coalition.
Now, as we said, the Rainbow Push Coalition is actually one of the co-lead groups in today's effort. Why is it important that we are continuing to march, Reverend Jeanette?
Well, I think we're continuing to march because we have so many issues, the same issues that they marched across the bridge 57 years ago. Voting rights, a federally protected voting rights bill is important. Our young people are graduating with enormous student loan debt, so we have to energize them. That's why we have students here from around the country. Right now, we're registering students from Dillard University. They have to know what it means to march for their own freedom. Some of us were here when Selma happened, Bloody Sunday. They were young people at that time on Bloody Sunday. These young people must now take the banner, take the mantle. We're passing the baton. They have to take the baton and move on.
Very important. Reverend Jackson's going to join us today?
Reverend Jackson is here.
Oh, is he here now?
Yeah, he'll be. He's
right.
Doing an interview, but he's here.
All right. So
he marched yesterday, and he's going to be right here marching with these young people today.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing him Reverend Jeanette, thank you so much. And thank you for your work in organizing this too.
Thank you.
It's been a blessed weekend. Today, you know, is the actual day. It's March 7th.
Yes, it is. And when I look back at our history and I see all these young multiracial groups.
Were you born yet in 65?
I was born.
So do you remember what happened? Where were you when it?
I watched Bloody Sunday on television. I was 15 when it happened. And I remember the pain when you see children beaten and hit in the head and praying on the bridge and stomped, and just, it was horrific. I remember the Children's March in Birmingham. I remember those 4 little girls killed in Birmingham. And so I grew up in segregation. I've been shaped by this racism, and so I feel grateful that we now have a generation that's willing to stand up and march and fight back in a nonviolent way. We have to renew the spirit. We really do.
You saw at 15, you saw young people your age out there getting beat.
People my age getting beaten, and while they're kneeling and praying. And so I remember they had a faith that carried them across that bridge.
Thank you, Reverend Jeanette. It's good to see you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We're here. Latasha Brown is also here from Black Voters Matter. We're live streaming. Latasha, how you feel this morning?
I'm well. I'm really blessed.
I'm glad she had time to talk to me. I was trying to call the other night. She sent me the voicemail, but she's here for the stream. No, I'm just messing with her. Why is it important that we're out here and that we're continuing to do this?
You know, I think it is important literally to commemorate the spirit and remember. That's part of why history is so important, to remember what our people have done, remember how we got where we are, and to think about where we got to go.
Yeah. And now, today is actually March 7th.
That's right.
Now, Latasha, many people don't know this, Latasha and I actually met organizing the Jubilee in Selma, didn't we?
That's correct. That's years ago.
Years ago. It's kind of our political upbringing.
That's right.
What can Black Voters Matter say to our audience about what our options are? I mean, it seems like a lot of options we had. What happened in the Senate dried up. What moves do we have left to make?
Our moves is about us. Like, it has never been. Our fate ain't tied into just what the Senate does or what the House does. Our fate is decided by what we do. And that's why we do the work we do. We have to organize, we'll apply the right kind of pressure and the right moment to the right targets will make the difference. Hey, Brother Cliff.
Some more armbands.
Yeah, come on.
The back of the truck. Bring us some more.
You know, for us to really recognize that the right move is the move that we make. So it's not about the Senate. Part of it is we got to organize, we got to come out, we got to apply pressure, we got to move folk out the way that's blocking, and we got to put people in. It's that simple.
How'd you feel about the Vice President's visit to Selma yesterday?
I'm glad that she came. I think it was beautiful to see her up there. And you know, a few of us met with her, and she reinforced her commitment to voting rights. So.
And I mean, we would not have the first Black woman, South Asian woman, Jamaican woman,
right,
Vice President if it weren't for what happened right here in Selma.
Absolutely. Selma made it happen. It created the space. So
now, Black Voters Matter is here today, but they're actually responsible for the march on Wednesday. All the different organizations are taking a day, and so Black Voters Matter will lead. All the great work Black Voters Matter has been doing over the past few years has been incredible. It's been necessary. It's been important. So glad you're here. Good to see you. Appreciate you always, always. We're broadcasting live right before we get ready to march on the way from Selma to Montgomery. Bishop Grant. He can't hear me. Bishop Grant is with the rainbow. We're going to try to see if we can find him. Also, Barbara Arnwine is here somewhere, and she's with the Transformative Justice Coalition, and they're another one of the organizations that is leading this. And the Transformative Justice Coalition did a lot of important work with the Arbery family, getting things organized down in Georgia as well. And I see we've actually got some students here from Dillard University. We want to see if we can talk to some of the young people who were here. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Reverend Mark?
Happy Memorial Monday. Everybody watching online, tell everybody your name.
Oh my gosh, I'm Reverend Carolyn Foster.
tell us what this day means to you. This is March 7th, 57 years ago.
Yes, it is. Oh, I didn't tell you who I am. I am one of the tri-chairs for the Alabama Poor People's Campaign movement here in this state. We are so excited to see all these young people and older people and the veterans of the march and these new marchers. It is so exciting. But this is very important. We are still 57 years fighting for voting rights. That's a whole generation. A whole generation of people who don't know anything but having to fight for voting rights. It is unacceptable in this country, unacceptable. That's why this time is so important. That's why these people are here, because we're fighting for democracy, we're fighting for the right to vote, which is our right in this country. So I'm here coming from Birmingham, Alabama, growing up in segregated South, having to fight for living wages, in this country, we're having to fight for health care, and to be still having to fight for voting rights.
Were you born yet in March 7, 1965?
Oh, thank you for asking that question.
I don't want to presume.
I have been here for a while.
Okay. So do you remember? Were you old enough to remember what happened?
Yes, I was. Matter of fact, going back to Birmingham, Alabama, I was 10 years old when the 16th Street Baptist Church was bombed. So yeah, I remember 1957. I'm not going to tell you when I was born, but
that's all right.
Yes, I remember.
So do you remember your reaction and your parents, your family's reaction when you saw what happened in Selma that night on television?
Well, my mom and parents tried to keep it from me, but we all saw it. But they really didn't talk about it because of their fear during that time. I mean, when my neighborhood, Smithfield, known as Dynamite Hill in Birmingham, Alabama, was bombed by the Ku Klux Klan. And they just kept it from us and just gave us some excuse for the rumblings that we heard, the shaking of the bed. Because I fell out of my bed one night during one of the bombings. And my parents just tried to protect us from it. They didn't talk to the children about it. But I'm the oldest of my mom's kids, and so I heard grown folk talk. So I knew about it.
You knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And some of those people were as young as you were back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reverend Foster, we appreciate you. Thank you for your ongoing organizing. She has not stopped, and that's what's important. You can't stop. Can't stop, can you?
Cannot stop. Won't stop. Victory is the goal. And until we get to victory, there will be no stopping.
And tell our audience, too, how the organizing is going for June 18th. A lot of folk coming from Alabama.
Great. We are mobilizing, organizing, registering, and educating people for the movement that votes here in Alabama. We have teams of people all over this state that's working in these regions to get people signed up and ready to go on June 18th to Washington, D.C.
When we talk about poverty, poverty is real in Alabama too, isn't it?
Poverty is definitely real in Alabama. 45% of our Alabamians, of our neighbors, our friends, our family members, are poor and low wealth in this nation. That's almost half of us. So poverty affects all of us. And that's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible. Poverty is real, folks, and this is the work that Dr. King was doing.
Absolutely.
Before he died.
Before he died, yes, he did. And so this is why we are in this new movement of the Poor People's Campaign, picking up the mantle and carrying it forward, because the fight is still a fight in this state.
Reverend Carol Foster, God bless you. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for being here. Okay, folks, we are live here at the Poor People's Campaign. This is their day, along with the Transformative Justice Coalition and Rainbow Push. And here, one of the organizers with Rainbow Push is Bishop Tavis Grant. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Brother Mark, we're on the move. Can't stop us now.
Where you get that red, black, and green top that you got on? What size is that?
If I tell you, you got to give me your approval.
Why is today important, and why are you here? Why is the rainbow out here?
Well, Reverend Jesse Jackson's work and service goes all the way back to this bridge, and marching beside Dr. King and John Lewis and so many others. Being here today with you and Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin King III was historic for our generation, because we're standing on their shoulders. And to see today, from 65 to 2022, so much is still at stake.
Yeah.
Voting rights is at stake. Social justice is at stake. brothers and sisters who are serious about criminal justice reform. That's what the Selma-to-Montgomery 2022 is all about.
Indeed. So you all are leading today as we start this first leg of the march. I mean, what do you say to those who sometimes think, well, you know, we don't really need to march anymore. We can just do it on social media.
Every significant move and accomplishment we've made in this country on the behalf of black and poor people has been on the feet of people, ordinary people, who march, who raise their voices and take it all the way to the ballot box. And so the significance of this march is this year, Reverend Jackson leading today, Transformative Justice, Bishop William Barber and Poor People's Campaign. Tomorrow, Nan, Reverend Al Sharpton. Wednesday, Latasha and Black Voters Matter. Labor on Thursday. Then we converge on the state capitol here. You know, the first person to be convicted from the insurgents was a resident of the state of Alabama, not far from here. So there's something about this moment. This is a Kairos moment, and it's like water. You can't get wet if you don't jump in.
Thank you, Bishop Grant. Appreciate you, brother. All right, all right. So, folks, as you heard, we're going to get ready to start lining up for the march. We'll get you a little bit of this live coverage now as we get ready to go. Hey, here's Reverend Stephen Green, y'all, pastor of St. Luke's AME Church in Harlem. What you doing all the way down here from Harlem, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm here with this march and with all of those who believe in love and justice, because we're continuing this journey. It's not a historical commemoration. We're here because we're in present suffering, and we're going to take this message to the state of Montgomery, to the state of Alabama, and to all the United States of America that we want our freedom and we want it now.
And why is it important that even in your generation, the younger generation, we continue to march and not forget how to march?
Absolutely. It's important to recognize that this is the nonviolent army. We're making up the warriors of truth and of love to hold this nation accountable for her sins that are being imposed upon black and brown people in this country today. This is a present day suffering. This is not a historical remembrance. We're fighting now because the weapons that we are up against are still masquerading themselves as a form of democracy. And so now is our time to turn the truth on this nation and turn the lights on and be honest with ourselves.
Thank you, Reverend Green. Appreciate it. Reverend Green here with us for the duration. You're going to be with us all week, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Reverend Green is here with us for the duration and getting ready to march. Here's Barbara Arnwine over here. We're going to see if we can track her down. I was trying to, Barbara Arnwine, who is also one of the co-organizers of today, Transformative Justice. Right here, Barbara. Look right here if you don't mind.
Yes.
We're live. We're streaming all over the world. Tell people all over the world why you're here today and why this is so important.
Because most people aren't aware, not only in the U.S. but worldwide, that American democracy is under attack. And we are in a very precarious time where people, because they fear losing white political dominance, they're willing to destroy the democracy. And I know that sounds extreme, but it's true. All these voter suppression laws that we're seeing throughout the country are a response to people's fears of black, brown, Asian, Native American, young people, and other folks being strong in this democracy. They don't want it that way. So it is so important for us to say that you can't stop the winds of change. It's important for us to say that we, in this generations, that we who are living, we will fight like our ancestors fought, and we will win again. And we will continue to be vigilant in protecting this democracy.
Today is the day, 57 years ago today, March 7, 1965. Were you born yet?
Yes, barely. Barely.
So you weren't old enough to remember what happened?
Not at all. In fact, my first civil rights memory is 1963, and that is the March on Washington, and I was trying to watch it, and my grandfather came and turned it off and said, those people are going to get us all killed.
Really?
Yes. And the minute he walked away, I turned it back on.
Before we start this sign,
Reverend Foster was saying that about her situation, and I mean, our families were different then, and they wanted to protect, didn't want people to, didn't want the kids to see something like that.
But remember, they had seen Tulsa. That's what we got to remember. My grandfather had lived through Tulsa. He had seen all these massacres of black people in Okachee and all the other things in the 1920s. So he knew what white anger could look like and what white revenge could be like when we pushed for our rights. So he was absolutely not being unrealistic. He was responding to a real situation. I didn't understand that for years until I started studying the black massacres. And you realize that he had a basis.
Congratulations for all the work you did. I think you really made a difference in that trial down in Georgia when it came to the Arbery family.
Yes, and the Arbery family is here strong with us today. And they are not only advocates for their son and their slain nephew, but that they're here to say voting rights counts, that it matters, just like life matters.
Well, the Black Lives Matter and voting rights go together anyway, because Jimmy Lee Jackson was a Black Lives Matter issue.
Exactly, and people don't know about Jimmy Lee Jackson. He is the young black man who was active as an activist and trying to promote voting rights here in this country. People don't know that in 1965, less than 5% of all black people in Alabama were registered to vote. So Jimmy Lee Jackson was on the front line of saying, give us the vote. And they beat and killed this young black man activist for being out there working for our voting rights. There was no other reason to kill him, none other.
No other reason at all. And that was the original plan to actually, but not only that, the plan originally was to march Jimmy Lee Jackson's coffin to the state capitol.
That's correct. People don't realize that's how the Selma-to-Montgomery March started. That's why Bloody Sunday happened. And you know what else people don't know, Mark? Is that John Lewis, when he told the SNCC Executive Committee that he was coming here, they told him no. They told him he could not come because it was too dangerous. And he said, if the people are going to march, I'm going to march with them. And you can have my chairmanship if that's what it costs. And that was a decisive moment. If he hadn't had the courage, think about it. I mean, there's a whole lot of amazing people we owe a lot to.
Yeah, no question about it. Barbara Arnwine, thank you for organizing us today. We'll be on the road together shortly.
Can't wait. Mark, you are the best. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara.
Hey, Eric, of course, is the best. All right, Eric. We love you.
She's speaking to Eric Preston, y'all, who is our camera operator.
And not only that,
cameraman, producer, Fusion Films, y'all.
And he was with us in Brunswick for a month.
That's right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
She's from Selma.
Yeah. So somebody, I'm just going to start this way. Somebody fed us well the other night. That's one thing she's known for. But she is a native Selman. Miss Callie Greer, how are you?
I'm well. How are you this morning?
I'm good. So we're back in your hometown.
Well, yes, I'm a native Montgomeryan. I am an Alabamian, citizen of the world for real, though.
We're back in Selma. How you feel to have folk back here in Selma for you?
I wish you guys would stay a couple of weeks, help us get some stuff done. Yeah, but it's wonderful to have all of these beautiful faces, all of these different beliefs and religions, all of these different colors and hues here in Selma today. I'm excited. I'm just glad to be here to be able to be of service. We had our water, t-shirts, getting people registered for June 18, 2022. Low-wage workers and Poor People's Campaign on March on Washington, D.C. June 18th, 2022. If you're not registered, holler at me. If you're in Selma, holler at me. I got you.
Today, Bloody Sunday was 57 years ago. Were you born yet?
No. I'm not going to date myself, but I wasn't born yet.
All right. Well, what stories do you remember? Did your parents talk about what happened?
Well, my great-grandma, who actually helped raise me, was an actual slave. She died at the age of 99, so I kind of lived it, right? the oppression. My great-grandma was a woman of very few words, and I didn't know why. You know, she didn't talk much. She just went to church, prayed a lot, worked. And as I grew up, I understood that her voice had been beaten out of her. So I didn't know then, because I was born August 5th, 1960. But my great-grandma helped raise us. Her name was Big Mama Lily Allen, and she was a woman of very few words. And I didn't know why, but now I found out later as I grew up why. Because she was actually a slave. So she doesn't have any words. So I do enough talking for her and my grandma and the rest of them right now. I do enough talking for all of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So good to see you. Bless you.
Bless you too.
We're here, folks, for the first leg of the march. We'll go to the front and get some of the visual of what's happening.
Come on. Take them there. Take them. Everybody lift one voice, one choir. Come on. One voice, one sound. That's it. Hold it.
Hallelujah. The Transformative Justice Coalition, as well as Kairos Center and Repairs to the Breach, are here leading this first leg of this march from Selma to Montgomery. And we are going to make sure people all across this state, all across this land, have a sense that we need to fight. Fight like we've never fought before to protect this democracy, to rise together for economic justice. And what we want to do is we want to stay in our lives. And we're going to hear some inspirational words from Reverend Jesse Jackson, who has been in this struggle for so long. But we need people to stay organized and stay lined up. We're still going to march after we get charged up to march by the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Let's give it up for Dr. Liz Theo Harris, the co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. Are you ready to march? Are you ready to march? All the marchers, make some noise! The legacy and service of this person runs right through the heart of Selma, Alabama, and across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He is here to join along with Attorney Barbara Arnwine, Attorney Darrell Jones of Transformative Justice, as well as Bishop William Barber, Dr. Liz Theo Harris of the Poor People's Campaign. He is the one and only Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson.
Good morning, family. Good morning, family. I got a little closer so I can talk with you. I can't talk. It's so loud. 2 years ago, I contracted Parkinson's. I'm all right. I have my balance. I have my balance. Y'all come a little closer. Closer.
Let me hold the mic for you, Reverend. So it's
Contracted Parkinson's, and then the Parkinson's, then the COVID. COVID affects your balance. You're prone to fall, and affects your speech. 5 weeks I could not march, could not walk a step, could not talk a sentence. So we're walking, but I'm walking, marching today. Thanks be to God. Your marching matters. The whole world sees this march. Many people benefit, few people participate. Everybody want to pick up apples, nobody wants to shake the tree. We're going to shake the tree.
Come on.
Deep roots in the tree.
Shake the tree.
When the winds blow and the storms come, the tree will stand. If it falls down for a minute, to get back up because the roots are strong. We're the roots. Foundation about struggle. How do you measure progress? Where? See, this black patrolman out here today, they were not here 50 years ago. There was no black patrolman at that time. Whites were hostile. Mayor of Selma, Alabama was African American. Birmingham, bombs were blasted. Montgomery, Mobile, last slave ship close to landed at Mobile, Alabama. So you cannot be afraid. So they use gerrymandering. Annexation. At large. Road pressure. The way they drew the lines, gerrymandering. Annexation. Add whites who left the cities and moved to the suburbs. From our district, we can't win. Road purging. Now it's time for us to act again. We can win in spite of the schemes that they use. Many ways, many whites in the South have changed. Changing according to good information. I'm sharing with the writers today. What happened was a TV program about Russia last week. Let me know really what's happening in the South of our country. The average person in Russia today, walking down the street, going back and forth to work, the theater, also use that inside the problem. The problem. The synagogue sites. And Asian back racism is. That's why we must be enlightened.
Enlightened enough to fight back.
Enlightened enough
to fight back.
And when boys played
Is a source.
Racism. Somebody supreme is inferior.
It is not so.
Racism is unscientific. White.
Black marries
Asian.
Australia.
time. Because they're the same people. A surgeon, Japanese, they may be African. That's how it's separated by opportunity. One reason why we do
Whenever playing field is even, field is even.
Rules are public.
Goals are clear. Fair. We play.
Schools
parent.
You win.
And stop losing.
Alabama played Georgia. It was all hyped to win. There was no. You couldn't use race. If I'm called not skin. I said for a tackle. Times have changed. The minds are experiencing. The Russians are not involved in the Ukraine. Don't know any better. In the South, don't know any better. So we're teachers. Soldiers. We're with the people. I am. Respect me. Never neglect me. Somebody can't conceive it. Can't believe it. I can achieve it. My attitude. Down with dope. Down with dope. Somebody look down on somebody. From coalitions. By the way.
So much.
Thank you.
Barbara, I got you on the speaker.
Thank
you.
About the situation and talking things that people are considering. Why I did not ask everybody to get day. That's right. Miss Boyington and others have been working for 40 years before ever there was a march. The first mass meeting was in May of 1963, 3 months before the March on Washington. People were there, and Jim Clark had already brought his guns in the side of a sanctuary of the first mass meeting. Let's make sure we remember, we repent, and we lament properly. Selma was considered by some people as the place you went to die if you were so right-side. What I mean by die is, you went there because it was off the beaten path, they had worked so long, they hadn't been able to break through, and there would not be any real success there. It was also at a time when the president had said they didn't get voting rights with the 1964 Civil Rights Act, so there was nothing he could do. The deadline had passed. To stand where you're standing right now, somebody had to bleed bad, and all of those foot soldiers, they showed us their scars. Miss Boyington, when she was beaten, one of the sheriffs stood over her body and said, "Let the buzzards eat her." That's right. So let us not come here this morning with a lot of laughing and a lot of joking and a lot of smiling. Ain't nothing to smile about right now.
That's right.
We are in a crisis of civilization. Now, should we have the joy of God? Sure. Should we have the hope of God? Sure. But when folks see this around the country, first of all, they don't need to see us just, any kind of way. We need to stop right now before we do a march and remember all of the folk who bled and died. Let's be real quiet for a minute and remember them, all of them. White, black, Latino, gay, Native American. Because their blood should bring life to our movement today. And whatever we are dealing with now, we have to remember that anybody who tries to roll back voting rights, anybody who tries to block economic justice and living wages is literally desecrating the graves of those who died to put those things to the fore. That's the first. Second thing, while we're quiet this morning, let us be quiet for all of the folk that are dying in wars, not just in Ukraine, around the world, but then also in Ukraine. A war over geopolitics, in other words, nation arrogance, a war over oil, and a war over the manipulation and attempted manipulation of the world. People are dying, civilians are being bombed. There's conversations about if this happens, no nuclear, this could happen. Let's stop for a minute. Let's stop for a minute. And then thirdly, we've had nearly 1 million people die from COVID. Most of them were poor and low wealth and low-wage workers. The very people Dr. King and others lifted up at the end of the Selma-to-Montgomery March that ought to be the reason why we fight for voter suppression. The movement never said it was just for black folk. That's not a special interest of black people. But 1 million people, and we've not had 1 week of lamenting, 1 week of bereavement. Nearly 1 million people. Everybody wants to get back to some kind of strange normality, which was where 250,000 people were dying a year from poverty. That's where we were prior to COVID. But let's stop for a minute and be repentant and lamenting. Nearly 1 million folk, most of them poor. And one study said 60% didn't have to die if we had taken care of everybody from the bottom up. Yes. And then lastly, put your mask on. Let's not be irresponsible. I could not say this yesterday from the podium because it wasn't our podium. But at this march today, put your mask on. There's new language that says the CDC new guidelines are problematic. The Poor People's Campaign has 3 black women who are top epidemiologists in disease and control. And they said to us, this is not the time for us to be lax. And if you go down there in the Poor People's Campaign and march without masks, you are representing the kind of individualistic irresponsibility that has caused many poor people to die. That's model for the nation. We should be able to have our masks and our boosters and our shots, because if anybody catches something, particularly in something we do, and we were irresponsible, then we can't criticize the other folk. And the people who are walking with us, the people we care about, are the people already the most vulnerable in this whole context. Put your mask on. Spread out 6 feet apart. Don't bunch up. spread out 6 feet apart. And don't bunch up. And don't be arrogant, son. Ain't nobody tell me what to do. That's the same stuff we said that we didn't like about Trump. That's the same stuff we said we don't like about McConnell and Manchin and Sinema. That's what they said. Can't nobody tell us what to do. We must model the beloved community. And in the beloved community, it's not about individualism, it's about collectivism. Put your mask on, spread out, and the first leg of this march, the first half mile of this march, let it be solemn. Let it be solemn. Let it be reflective. We'll sing, we'll do musicology, but the first half mile, let it be solemn. Make sure that they're in a disabled approach, they get first and they're taken care of. And then once the half mile is, then we can do some other things. But this is not the time for a lot of smiling and giggling and bumper sticker talking. We must shake the consciousness and the heart of this nation and be committed to change. As Bishop says, is with the rainbow, he said we want it all. Not some of our rights, not some of it, but all of it. God bless you, love you, and forward together and never one step back.
All right, all right.
Big hand for Bishop.
All right.
Now,
All right.
as we march today, I want to run this past you, my friends.
So I think we gotta go. I think we gotta go. I think we gotta go. So we're gonna get to stop at the okay.
We're gonna get the buses to put out. The bus is gonna meet us at the first rest stop. Let me have you shift over so the buses can put out there. We're heading out as soon as we get the buses out of here. They head to the first rest stop.
We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. We lined it up. People moving.
Okay.
People moving, Reverend.
We need to make sure we're communicating out.
How you doing, sir? Jim's son. Who's that? Bevel's son.
As we get ready to leave, as you can see people lining up. We heard from Reverend Jackson today.
Okay, so what do we gotta do? So maybe the extra start of March, because you got charter buses.
Got everybody lined up ready to roll?
So they want to. Sam said he wanted us to move so the buses.
The buses are going to actually bring up the rear. They should be to bring up the rear.
Yeah.
Sam said the buses needed to go in front. That's what he just announced.
No, I just told him we're going to leave the buses in the back. Yeah.
But that's not what he just said, though.
I know, we just told them the buses have to be in back because they have bathrooms and supplies and stuff.
So Sam's clear on that? Okay. Okay.
Security vehicles, other vehicles, and then buses.
Okay, okay.
We're going to need to put one bus up front.
Up here.
Well, where is Sam? Sam!
Are we going?
I'm trying to get the instructions. Sam, what are we doing? Sam, what are we doing?
We're going to bring the buses up. We'll leave one bus to be back of the march. The people need to get on that bus when they get tired.
You want the other ones to come out?
To the rest stop.
So we going to coordinate those buses coming out?
Y'all let the bus through. Y'all let the bus through.
I don't think.
Sam, hold on, because we have these buses for the sake, number one, of range, and then our elderly folks, right?
You using both of those?
Yeah. What you need?
No, just for singing stuff. So. Okay.
Well, if y'all go ahead. This is for the singing here.
That's all right.
Sorry.
So when do we gotta go?
I think we're ready. I think we're ready.
Thank you.
If you see me get to go to my car, come up with us, okay?
Okay, I'm
She already.
okay, I've been here. Yeah, we can hear no problem. All right, can y'all all move over to the side so that this way. This way. Right here. Okay, well, they're going to try to get that. Yeah, for the left.
Let's go. Remember, we're going to stay in this right lane. We're going to stay in the right lane all the time.
Behind the banner should be 4 across.
4 across behind the banner. 4 across behind the banner.
All right, let's get the banner straight. All right. Just stop right here. I'm going to get between them. All right, we're going to have you all over.
Stay over, right lane. Make sure you stay in the right lane.
Chris, come inside.
Social distancing, please, as well. Okay.
Once we get started, get your social distancing.
Let's roll.
We're going to have some outside of the bar. Outside of the bar.
Let's go. Right. Make sure they stay on this side of this white line. Make sure they stay on this side of this lane.
Good to see you.
Ain't gonna let no.
Yeah, I got you.
He just said he needs to get.
Trying to be respectful. Yeah, I'm gonna get past this. Come around. And then
Ma'am, I need you to get over.
Everybody start a line, please.
oh, it's because the hard, yeah.
Inside the lane.
What you call it? The hook break.
Yeah, we do.
I'm serving at the market. Okay. I just didn't pull. I don't yell. Everybody stay in this lane. Yeah.
But we just want to keep this line moving. Try to coordinate whatever you got going on and keep this line moving.
I'll take that stuff. Toyota Chrysler. Put it in his Toyota. Right next to the Rainbow Push. Planet Touch.
Mark, are you going to talk to some people?
After Bloody Sunday, Bloody Sunday would have been today again.
Up here in this middle.
March 7, 1965. But it was actually on March 21st, 1965, several weeks later, that the march picked up and went all the way from Selma to Montgomery. So this is the route. If March 7th had not gone the way it would have gone, this would have happened on March 7th, and those that were marching would have made it all the way to Montgomery. But that did not happen, obviously. But that did not happen, obviously, because of what happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. So this is, once again, a very, very important and somewhat solemn occasion as well. We heard from Reverend Jackson. We heard from Reverend Barber to get things going, to get things started while we're here. And making history once again.